three different tunnels, and between all of those, we probably had 35
Okay,
guys.
so here we go.
Between all that,
Now, add up what you were doing annually at all three tunnels with 35 guys. And now with 5 locations, 10 bays, are you running about the same volume, more or less?
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, we're doing more. We're doing more here.
Okay,
with the 10,
folks,
with the 10 base. Yeah.
This is why
we
this
are.
podcast is going. So
Yeah.
Chris has a
Yes.
total, including himself, 3 employees. So it's Chris and 2 helpers running 10 bays. He's washing more cars than managing 35 people at 3 tunnels.
I never thought of it that way. You're absolutely right.
And that doesn't put things in perspective for all of you watching. So if you have any interest in car washing whatsoever, if you're a tunnel operator, you're an in-bay operator, a self-serve operator, if you've been doing this for 40 years or you're just slightly interested in the car wash business, this podcast is for you. Things are shifting in the car wash space. Technology is shifting in the car wash space. And everything that was popular for the past 10 years or so, for those who have eyes to see, may be real surprised of where this industry's going. So strap in, get ready to have some fun. We're going to talk with Chris from United Auto Wash, confessions of a former tunnel operator.
Okay, so I'm going to trust you because I'm never going to see this or listen to this.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do not want to hear myself or see myself. Oh, my God. I'm just horrified by the whole thing. So
That's
I'm excited to talk to you. I always love talking to you, so it'll be fine.
That's amazing.
That's what I told Phil. I'm like, yeah, you guys are going to have to look at it because I'm not going to see it.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, don't be shy. We're just hanging out. And
exactly.
All right. Well, for everybody joining us here, this is not live, by the way, Chris. So we can record this and we can edit if anything gets messed up. Actually, look, it sound really good. His camera is all right. So, for everybody watching here, this is a Subconscious Sales podcast. So Subcon Sales, we talk about sales, people's mentality, emotions, as well as a lot of things car washing right now. So we're here with Chris Reed. And Chris, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, Jason. It's good to see you. You and I see each other a lot, but we don't ever have time to just sit down and just chat. So it's great to be able to do that with you this morning. So.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we can take our time. We have as much time as we need or want. So, all right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history in car washing? Like, when did you start? How old were you? And all that good stuff.
Well, 16. That was circa 1993. So let's moving back a few years. It was an after-school job that just turned into a career. The first company I worked for, I was so fortunate. I worked with some people that were great teachers that really showed me how much fun the business could be. And so I got hooked on it. I mean, to the point where, I worked after school, and then on Sundays or Saturdays and Sundays in the wintertime, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'd come in first thing. I'd be there I loved it. I loved every second of being there. So just great people at the beginning. So I was with them for a while. That company got sold. So I moved on from there and got into chemical sales, met some great people in that. And my favorite part of that was I'm not a great salesman, I learned, as far as just selling product, but so I was good with the service part. So I made a lot of really good relationships that way. Met some great people that I still talk to today, even from back then. And then moved on from there. While I was in sales, there was a new owner up in the Cleveland area that was one of these guys that got into the car wash business because all you have to do is open up the doors to make money. That's all it is. It's just water.
Breezy.
It's just, a piece of cake. And then he did that for about a year and said, this is hard. Do you have any interest at all in getting back into operations? I said, funny you should mention that. That's exactly what I'm interested in. So,
and that was a tunnel, correct?
That was a tunnel.
Okay.
It was an underperforming tunnel. When I got there, to give you an idea what kind of shape that place was in, they were selling drugs out of the gas station part. Literally, that is what was going on. So that is where we started. So for some reason I stuck around. I like the challenge, I guess. And we got it. I felt after about the first year, it kind of became, my place, and I kind of got it the way I wanted, got the culture I wanted in there. And we went from, getting off to a pretty good start there. When we started there, I want to say we were doing about 45,000 washes a year. We got it built up to about 70, and then the 0708 economy just tanked. So then it became, what are we going to do here? Do we go? A lot of people were going to a $5 car wash.
Okay.
Do we want to do that? Just to get people in. That's actually when the free vacuums started getting popular. It's what can we do to get people on the lot? Let's give them free vacuums. So we're doing those types of things. Or do we want to do this membership thing? Do we want to get into monthly memberships? We had a friend on the west side of Cleveland that swore by them. Trusted the guy, but it's a hard jumping off point. It's an easy one for me. It wasn't my money. It wasn't my business. If it didn't work out, I could go find another job. So I understand why my boss was hesitant about that at the time.
But you like the concept, right?
I love the concept. I thought, if we're going to, if we go to $5, we've just, there's no coming back from that. We were charging, I think, 8. We were starting at 8 before that. How do we come back from that? The economy starts to turn. We're at 5. We go up to 6. Now people are going to get upset. I was big on, we have an example right here. This guy's having success. We're in a similar market. Let's do it. And so that's what we did. So we went into a real basic monthly program. The pricing was not what I wanted. We were doing, it took, I think we were $25. And so it took 4 visits to pay for itself, which is a little bit on the higher end. So we really pushed that as much as we could. We capped out at about 700 members there, and we just flatlined. Like, we could not get above that. And then that's when the kiosks and the gates started happening, and RFID. And once we put that in, it was just off to the races. So that was the big turning point. So we ran it for about 3 or 4 years before we put gates in. And then once we had the gates, you just see how that works. You have a customer in one lane hunting and pecking on the pay station, trying to find the credit card, and on the other lane, 3 cars have gone by, the gate's flying open, and the customer says, how do I get that? And now you've sold a pass. So it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy there as far as that went. And boy, that just changed everything for us. So we went, we ran that way for 3 years, and then he retired and sold, and we got up near 3,000 members, and that was the most fun I'd ever had in the business until now. But at that point, that was, I really got addicted to that whole thing. Let's get more members. How do we grow this? And it just gets in your blood. And you think, once you've done it, you're like, how do we even have this conversation to not do this? That's we felt stupid for taking as long as we did, but it's a hard jumping off point for some people.
There's going to be a theme here. Yeah, you felt stupid for waiting as long as you did. And a lot of tunnel guys, so you're talking 07, 08. So I would say 07 to 15, a lot of tunnels were struggling. Like, do we really want to do this? Seasoned owners. I use the term seasoned owners awful lot for a lot of reasons. I find the people newest to the business make the most money because they don't have to unlearn, and I get it. When you've been successful at something, why would you want to change it?
Yeah, I'm paying my bills. My bills are getting paid.
Yeah,
I got money in the bank. Do we want to risk this? We've already risked it to start the business. Then we're going to take another big. It's hard. I get it. It's hard, and I was very patient when we were making that decision. I was, hey, when you're ready, let me know. And he just came to me one day. Hey, let's do this. And we just ran with it.
That's amazing. Also, you brought up something where I don't talk about this enough. I find females talk about this a little bit more because I love studying the difference in the male-female brain. And I actually like looking at the flyers where there's a female operator versus a male operator. Things are a lot different. Not a lot different, but the subtle differences. And you mentioned cars flying through on one lane and then being stuck at another. And the convenience, to this day, we don't talk about convenience enough. Everybody's talking about pricing, this and that. But our mind is not just pricing. We want an easier way to live. We're being bombarded with so many things. Our app, our phone updated. Now we have to relearn it. We have to get another phone. Like we just want things to be easy. And that's human psychology 101 anyway. We want to use as least calories in the brain as possible subconsciously. And when you make things easier, guess what? They're going to go to what's easier. We might talk
they'll pay for it.
Exactly.
They'll pay for it.
That's a good point.
Look at DoorDash. It's ridiculous. People having stuff delivered to their house and pay $25 for a Big Mac meal delivered to your house. They'll pay for it.
That's a good point.
That's a good example of convenience. But
I'm glad you brought it up because I don't talk about it enough, and I need to. You brought up DoorDash. I was in where was I? Fort Worth for that last show, and I actually DoorDash for the first time. I never done it in my life, but
Yeah, I still haven't done it.
I was tired at the hotel, and then it was like this magic thing. Now people are watching this, like this is 2025, and this is my first
Right.
DoorDash. But it was like this magic thing. This guy brought it up. I met him at the lobby. I think he would have brought it up to my hotel room, but I put it outside the door. But the fact is, I'm tired. I'm working a trade show. Trade shows are hard work. And it's not that far away, but I don't want to Uber. I don't want to walk. I just want food.
Right.
And it just magically appears. And guess what? I'll pay a premium because I'm freaking hungry, tired. I need to get up next day and perform. I need to be ready to go. Sorry for that tangent, but you're right. Convenience. No. We're busy people. We're busy people.
That's the thing for us, and that's what we look at here. So, United, one of our big things is convenience. We do talk about that quite a bit here. Consistency, and for us, it's when the customer comes on the lot, we need them to know how long they're going to be here. They need to look at our lot, and we need to be consistent enough to say, customer can say, okay, that's 5 minutes. That's time. I have that time. I'm going to do it, and that's the whole thing. And we learned, and that's tunnel mentality. Where I'm at now, this is a high volume in bay, which is a foreign concept to me until 2 years ago.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Yeah, we're gonna get into. Yeah, I might be jumping a little bit, but that's the thing. It's expectations, consistency, and convenience. Those are the things that are the most important. It took me forever as an operator to say, I don't have to have a 100% perfectly clean car. That's what's going to set me apart. That is the biggest thing. It's so much better to put out a 95% clean car all the time than a 100 a lot of the time. But sometimes you get an employee that's not having a great day, and that is the biggest killer to your business. So that was the part to me that fighting that battle of that 100%, which I talk about a lot, is that's been the biggest mindset change as I've gone through this. There've been a lot of them over. Oh my God, we're over 30 years now, which is incredible to me. It goes so fast. So.
Yeah. Well, that goes to psychology as well. Dr. Demi talks about this a lot. We all want to do a good job. And a lot of leaders and managers miss that. And this goes back to the customer in a second. But employees want to do a good job. We do take pride in our work. And a lot of owners don't realize when you don't have the system that your people are enabled to do a good job, that's why they get frustrated and leave more than you think. We're motivated. People are more motivated than they think to do a good job. It's just the systems don't allow us to. Now, why do I bring that up? Well, you want a perfectly clean car. So do I. Like, we're motivated. We take great pride. Yes, we want a 100% clean car. You and I, or whoever's in charge of that wash, we want it 100% clean. But then we're learning, okay, it's a clean car is important, but it's like 4 or 5 down the list. Like you said, a 90% is good enough, and consistent is more important than a perfectly clean car.
We're sitting there for an extra 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes in line or whatever it is at a tunnel just to get that 100%. Like all those things are, you have to weigh it all together, and especially in the memberships get you. That's the other thing that's been beneficial about the memberships is you're washing mostly clean cars, and that's why it's so nice to have a big program because most of your people that you're coming in are regular washers. They know what they're doing, and the cars aren't destroyed when they come in. So that's been that whole thing has been. It's interesting. Like when you start the memberships out, you think, okay, well, you just look at the dollars and the cents, and you're worried about that. But then you don't see the other benefits. How the volume breeds more volume for you. The people showing up on the lot. Hey, look, that's an active place. There's people going through. That must be a good place to go, right? So that's the kind of stuff that I would not have considered when we started. You learn that as you go, and then, my God, you become such a big advocate for it. And I mean, that's why the industry's blown up the way it has, and to the point where maybe too big in some places, but it's that's what's made this possible for us. The whole thing.
For sure. So where'd you go after that wash?
So that was 19 years. That was the biggest chunk out there. Okay. And he sold that pretty quick. to the point where I didn't have a lot of time to pivot. I didn't know it was going to be right then. And we had another friend of ours that offered me a job, and they had 3 tunnels, and they also dry cleaning business. Well, their big business was their dry cleaning, and they say, hey, we want to bring you in to do the car wash side and grow it. Great. I get to do this again. I get to do the memberships again. They had memberships, but it was like ours before the kiosk. Oh yeah, we're gonna do kiosks with all this stuff. Well, that never ended up happening. And I kind of learned pretty quick that they were dry cleaner car washers, not car washing, dry cleaning people. I'm just too much of a car wash guy for that to work. I spent 2 years there, tried to make it work. I'm a pretty positive guy. Try to look at, how I just couldn't make it happen. And at that point, I started looking around, getting the Indeed alerts, and then one pops up one day for United Auto Wash, and I'm thinking in bays. I'm going to do in bays. Like, I'm such a tunnel snob. That's the only way to do it. You can only do it with a tunnel.
The black
And
sheep, the
yeah,
dirty,
exactly.
smelly black
Well, what do
sheep.
you think of, like, as a tunnel operator, somebody that's been around for a long time? What are in bays? They sit behind gas stations and they're not maintained. And
That's
an
right.
owner will build one. They don't maintain it. It's down more than it's open. I'm thinking to
That's right.
myself, I mean, this is what I'm going to do. So, and I'd seen the washes. I thought, okay, well, I'll go. I'll go and see what's going on with this. What's the worst going to happen? What you and I are doing right now, sitting here for 30 minutes talking car wash. I'll do that with anybody. And so I went. And I was like, wow, this is interesting, and this is something different. And maybe this is something I can get into here. And it's been the best decision I've ever made in my working career, going from tunnel to in-bay, with the memberships, learning how we can do the memberships without people, without, and build the program you want to build, and not be, because that's the other thing. When I was a tunnel, I was always a loader. I want to be the guy that controls, how many cars we're doing an hour. There's not going to be the collisions. There's not going to be the problems we have. I was always a loader. So I'd go home every day. I wouldn't let anybody else do it. I'm in there 12 hours. I'm soaked. My back hurts. I'm in a noisy environment the whole day. Get those cars out, especially on the busy days. We got to get them through. And now I'm in an environment where we're doing that. But I go home dry. I go home, I can hear.
That's true.
And we're, yeah, and I can talk to customers, and it's not noisy. It's just it's exactly what I needed in my life right now after have doing the other way for 30 years. And there is nothing wrong with tunnel washing. Obviously, it's still, what you see the most of, and you're going to make the most money doing it with the volume. But I have 2 employees. I used to have 20. It's just, if nobody shows up, we still wash our cars. That's the other thing. When towards the end of the time in Cleveland when I was there, we were having so much trouble post-COVID. Everybody knows this, but post-COVID, just staffing the place. And so we were just talking about, the owner and I were talking and said, what can we do to this place? Because we were hand drying, hand prepping, like we were doing a lot of work there. What can we do? So if you and I are the only 2 people that show up to this place, we can wash the cars we want to wash, because we can't rely on people. You schedule 8, 5 show up, and now you're running light, and the guys that are there are, working harder.
There
and
goes
they're
your
not
consistency,
happy.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it's just a self-defeating thing. So that's where we were moving anyway, as it relates to, the high volume in-base situation. That's what we have here. I mean, that's been the biggest thing for me has been, you don't have to be there every second. Just because you get an alert that you got something on the watch, log in. You may be able to get it reset and fixed remotely, then head that way. Like my first year here was just, I got to be there. I got to go there. I got to be, so that's been the hardest part for me to let go, is a little bit more hands off. But not that you're not engaged with the business, but it's just it's a different environment. It's a lot less stress day to day, which has been wonderful. My wife is probably happier about it than I am. But,
that's what I was going to ask. How is your? You have a wife and 2 daughters, right?
Yep. They're 8 and 6, and okay. It's been this has been good for that too.
Okay, so the family life, everybody's a lot more appreciative in the family life.
Yes, yeah. I'm not coming home just dead to the world, tired. I can log in and check on the sites. I need that peace of mind where I can log in, see what's going on exactly. And we've created that, and we're going to create some more systems to make that easier, even than it is now with cameras and just getting more information. The owners here are very mindful of, they want you to have your personal time and have your family life and be able to, not have to run in every single time there's an issue or a customer bumps the machine, that type of thing, which I don't have to do. I mean, unless it's a major thing, which, I mean, most of the time, if I'm doing the maintenance I'm supposed to be doing, I'm fine. I don't have that problem. But that's been it's a better quality of life. For me, it's been great.
That's not the reason I asked about the family. You brought up your wife, but there's a colleague we know near the airport up north, and I was hanging out with him a couple times. He did an interview with me and a couple other things a couple years ago, and he was running a tunnel, and he had a double in-bay that was successful. And he's like, yeah, my wife keeps telling me to sell. I was like, yes, you need to sell. The timing's good. You have a tunnel. Like, what do you want to do? He has a couple daughters as well, a lot older, but he has some daughters in high school, college age. And he finally sold. He goes, yeah, you know what we're going to do? First of all, the in-bay makes really good income, so he's fine with one. He goes, if anything, we'll just try to find another in-bay and do this model. He 2 years ago, from when we're speaking right now, he added monthlies, and he's super happy with that. But the point is, like, his wife was begging him, like, please, like, look, we've worked really hard our whole life. It's time to, like, let's travel a little bit. Let's, sell the tunnel. And I take pride in helping guide him to do that. And he did it, and they couldn't be happier. I mean, their lifestyles changed. They're really happy. If an in-bay pops up, they'll buy another in-bay. But this lifestyle of an in-bay is pretty wild. Again, it's not completely hands-off. If you're a good operator, but you can plan out making a good, consistent, fast, strong, profitable in-bay. You can plan all that out and activate and implement it. With a tunnel, no matter how well you plan it out, guess what? The variables of all those employees is always there. If you do your due diligence in your in-bay from the beginning, the foundation, boop, you take that employee thing completely out the window, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's the difference. You can plan out a great in-bay, and then you're smooth sailing. You can plan out a good tunnel. You still don't know. A good manager, you're good to go. How often do we find a good manager, Chris? 20% of the time, 15%,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's a good point, because when you start from the beginning, that's the other thing. That what's the in-bay? A third the investment. I mean, you're not gonna have the income with the tunnel. Of course you're not. But you put together a couple in-bays, you're right there with a tunnel. You get 2 or 3 sites together for pretty much the same investment. You're right there. So it's just it's just crazy. If you'd have shown me this 3 years ago, me saying this to you, I would not have believed it. I don't know how how are we going to be able to do this? How are we going to sell passes? How are we going to keep people from using them nonstop? I mean, all these problems that we have in the tunnel, that we have systems to mitigate. Until I saw it all work here, I wouldn't have thought it was a thing. So yeah, it's been wonderful.
So let me ask you this: you were running 3 tunnels, so you said about 20 employees for 3 tunnels, right?
No, that was one tunnel. That was the Cleveland one. We had 20 employees.
20 employees.
I probably had, again, now we were, and they don't do much of this anymore, but we were hand prepping, hand drying. So,
well, the most recent job right before this one, you were running 3 tunnels, right?
Yeah, there were 3 different tunnels. Yeah, there were 3 different tunnels, and between all of those, we probably had 35 guys.
Okay, so here we go.
Between all that,
now, add up what you were doing annually at all 3 tunnels with 35 guys. And now with 5 locations, 10 bays, are you running about the same volume, more or less?
Yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah. Yeah, we're doing more. We're doing more here.
Okay,
with the 10 bays. Yeah.
This is why this podcast is going. So Chris has a total, including himself, 3 employees. So it's Chris and 2 helpers running 10 bays. Now, these are high performance and low maintenance machines. We'll get to that in a little bit. So Chris is running 10 bays, 5 locations. He's washing more cars than managing 35 people at 3 tunnels.
I never thought of it that way. You're absolutely right.
If that doesn't put things in perspective for all of you watching, put that in perspective. 3 tunnels, 35 people, 5 locations, 10 bays, 3 people. You're running higher volumes, way less labor. And I bet your customer average, it's maybe a hint less, but not much. If it is,
it's less. It was more. Well, they had less. They had more. We have more members here.
Okay, got it. So that's why
thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they didn't push the memberships there like we do them here. Yeah. I mean, to us, we understand that the security and just having the customer base is so important to us. Like we want to have people here and just the engagement. Because when you have your lows, we've been very fortunate from an economic standpoint recently. We get that dip, we're going to be a lot more prepared for it than someplace
way more robust.
So that for us is very important. So
I am in the same boat as that. I agree. So this is good stuff. I just want people to absorb 35 people, 3 tunnels, 3 people, more profit. Okay. Hopefully they get that. I think they do. That's pretty. I don't know. That's
pretty straightforward. Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward. That's wild. So when you were we're going to talk about the Graham Road location. So the first brand new double build that your owners put together, and you and your father used to explain what your perception was of the Double
Okay,
Bay.
this is Mr. 30 years in the business
Yeah.
genius guy. Okay, this is a good
This is
lesson
great.
in never stop learning, people. Like I learned after about 5 years in. 5 years in, I thought I knew everything in the car wash. Then I started realizing you don't know anything. You need to listen to people, and that's been my attitude ever since. Perfect
Well,
example of
that's
this.
good.
So my dad and I, there's a little Bob Evans right next to our Graham Road site that he and I, ever since he retired, every Monday morning had breakfast for years and years and years and years. And I watch, and that site was a car wash before and
Was
was
it
down the
just
street from the
self-serve?
one I started at. Yeah, it was self-serve. And at one point there was a tunnel there, but literally nobody used it.
Okay.
That was a competitor of the first wash that I started at down the
Okay.
street.
Got it.
So I knew it existed. I knew they were tearing it down. It's okay, they're going to tear it down, but wow, they're really putting another wash there. It's tucked back in. You can't see it.
It's not the best location, in my opinion.
No, it's not. And it's just like, how are people going to go back to this? These guys are wasting their money doing this. I would never do it. So we watched it, and I just every now and then, it's getting a little closer to being done. Yeah, I just tell my dad, it's like, I just don't even believe it. It's like there's too many washes. That's why I said there's too many washes. These guys are building them everywhere. And time went on, and the place opened. Oh, there's some cars over there. Oh, they've got a line. What's going on over here? What's funny is now when I was working at Cleveland, that site became my morning barometer of how busy the day was going to be because it's 24/7.
I never knew this.
And I didn't tell you this. Okay. Yeah. So I would drive up, the highway there, look off to the left, and I could see how many cars were there. And I'd say, okay, yeah, they've got 4 waiting in each lane. Let's get ready. This is going to be busy. You know, those days where it's, you had some salt and it's gray. Or how is it cold? What are we going to have today? And that was my, how busy are we going to be barometer there at that place. And obviously I'm not sitting here, United, none of this stuff happens.
None of this happens without that site. So for people that are watching here, this site is behind a gas station, behind a Wendy's, behind a Bob Evans. Now there is a Walmart close, but it's not on the road. Now there's some good traffic flow. There's kind of a corner of traffic flow, but it is behind things. So they built a little bit of a tower that has car wash. That helped some. But if as a consultant, if someone would have asked me about this location, do we really want to invest? Exactly. I would have said no, and I would have been wrong. Like you said, I think I'm on a roll. I got a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
I got to keep learning too, because I would have been wrong. And that's how we continue to gain information, as being open to being wrong, and then just adjust instead of whining about it. But I wouldn't have thought this was a good location. This location funded all of the other United locations, and it funded Dencar. Dencar would not exist. Nothing would exist without this location. It was so strong. It did so well. And there is competition not that far down the road.
Yeah.
And it just did really well. It proved the model. It proved the model of unattended monthlies, how well they can work if your system is set up right, if your lot is set up right. They very cleverly cheated in a way, because I preach what most NBA owners don't understand is stacking. Like, I think that's the number one underestimated thing in NBA washing is stacking. You need to be able to get a lot of cars in line. People need to comfortably pull in, get in line, and relax, instead of, I'm not sure if I could pull right off the street and get next to that pay station. So that location has an okay line, but there's an alley behind it where people can stack. So they have an artificial stacking area. Yes. So when I have busy days, people just stack in the alley, and it's no big deal because traffic can still flow, but people could be in line, and it works out wonderfully. There's some great drone shots we have of that location. But long bays, monthly plans, and easy to use vacuums. That's it. That's the tunnel play, right? If you build an in-bay with a tunnel play in mind, white walls, very comfortable. So yeah, that was a great location. And as a tunnel guy, you're like, this isn't going to do any good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I just same doubts that you did. And how are people going to see it? People are going to go out of their way to get there. But the other important lesson for me that I didn't think about was that used to be a car wash. Now, it wasn't much of a car wash, but people were aware that a car wash existed there. So if you've got a place that was already a wash and, they're going to make a nice wash there, if that's brand new, maybe I'll go use that. Even though it wasn't a great location, that had been there for, 25 years before that, I want to say, even as a kind of a dog kind of wash there. So that part, I think, played a pretty big role in it too, where people knew that existed, and now, hey, there's something new and let's go try it, and then
That's
they
good
really
to know.
liked it. So that part too, I think all that, those two things combined, like you said, the stacking is important, the in out's very easy. That's the other thing, when you're in that back lot, yeah, obviously you can't see it and that part is bad, but getting in and out of that place is very, very simple. That's the biggest plus to that site. You don't have a problem there. And if it's busy, you're not trapped. There's a lot of really good things going on there. And hey, we just keep learning. I mean, seriously, I'm glad those guys had the foresight that I did. And sometimes that's what, like we were talking about, guys that haven't been in the business forever. They have that fresh mind, that fresh, view of things.
That's a great
and
point.
It's good. And it's good. I mean, I that's why I love, like, these guys have been in it a long time, but I love listening to their perspective because it's different than mine. It's not, I try to be as open-minded as I can, but still, you still have, those things in your mind that work and that you lean on, and to hear a different perspective from people that were in the corporate world and were more like car wash. I was never a car wash customer ever.
That's right.
I was 16 years old. I was never a customer. I was never somebody that went and used one. So I always think my way is the best. So it's good to be able to listen to people with fresh perspective, and that's a great example of it. Is that site?
I agree. That is a great example.
Yeah.
So you've been working here 2 or 3 years, right?
Just over 2. Yeah, I started in literally the last week of 22. I started.
Okay.
So.
And how much have you paid out in claims?
0. How many claims have I had? Would you like to know that?
Sure.
3 in that time, and one of them was stone chips. I had to explain to a younger customer, when you drive on the highway, sometimes stones pop up and will hit the front of your bumper, and that's what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
I had another young lady that she scraped her bumper on a parking block. We could see right exactly, it was the same height as ours. Mm-hmm. No problem. And then the last one, what did we have on that one? Oh, that was the person. It wasn't even a click. They didn't even have damage. They said they quote heard a noise going through and wanted me to check their roof. So we got a ladder out and I let her check her roof, and her roof looked great, and away she went. So yeah, I'm glad you brought claims up, because that is, you talk about the most stressful part, and every tunnel operator will tell you that. I hated dealing with those, because there are people that, of course, you have your scammers, but you have people that genuinely believe that damage took place at your wash, and it didn't, and you can show them it didn't, and they don't believe you, and they're still going to go tell everybody they know. That is just the most, sick to your stomach moment in the tunnel business. And I was doing 3-4 a month when we got really busy, like all the time. And, they were not, and then there were times when it was us, we'd have a mirror cover, or there'd be certain things. I mean, you're dealing with guys. The one I always bring up is the guy with the drywall screw in his mirror wanting me to replace his mirror. I said, well, I'll get you a new drywall screw, but I'm not going to get you a new mirror. But those are the types of things you got to deal with. And it's just frustrating. So yeah, that has been, you talk about low stress. That has been the most stress relief part of the job, is the claims. It's been wonderful not having that.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So 3 claimed claims, 0 paid out in claims.
0.
And you've been there 2 years, and you guys are all washing in an awful lot of cars down there.
A lot of cars, yes.
We're just saying you guys are doing it. High volume. It's definitely high volume business, and no claims. So folks, those who run the tunnels, those who are thinking of building new, are you still sure? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? So let me look at a couple of my notes here. And if you want to talk about anything, feel free.
Well, I just think it's a great, when you talk about tunnel guys, like, I just think it's a great transition. If you're a lifer tunnel guy that's been in it forever and you're getting towards the end of your career, what a great transition if you go over to in-bay, because you still have your memberships, you still have that feel of, you're doing a lot of volume, you're doing a lot of memberships, but then you just don't have the stress that comes. It's such a good transition for, I would say, for anybody the last 10 or 15 years of their career to change over to it. I think it's probably where we're going to end up going here as we move just as a society more to automation. I agree. It's more of it falls in line with that more, and just the staffing is expensive and hard to get. I just think that's kind of where we're headed anyway. But I just think as a tunnel guy, that's what I've done. I mean, I've been in it for so many years as far in the tunnel. It's just such a seamless transition, and my God, it's just, so yeah, it's the only way to do it.
I'll share a United story. I helped those guys out for like a year, and I went up to where you're at now, right, the 4-bay. And it's funny, actually, you can see in the background, there's the drone shot of the 2-bay. But I went to the 4-bay. I was just kind of checking things out, and I was there, and a gentleman pulled up. I have some YouTube stuff and some social media. This guy pulls right up with his wife in a truck and said, "Hey, Jason, you know, you're not supposed to know if they're supposed to know the person or not. Hey, how's it going?" I don't know if I ever met this guy. So you actually said, "You're Jason Hayes." I'm like, uh-oh. So this guy, exactly, I'm going to peel off to exactly what you're talking about. He, a very successful operator, 2 hours east of you, sold his tunnels. And he goes, "I wanted to come here and see this." It happened to be a Friday afternoon. And they were rocking and rolling over there at the Forebay. And I was like, "Great, let me show you around." So I took him and his wife to the back room. Then we went upstairs where you're at right now. And we sat for 2 hours talking about car washing, this model, and everything. And this guy looks at me, him and his wife, and they're like, "Jason, I got to tell you the truth. I'm kind of freaking out right now. We should be down there."
Yes.
And I look at him as like, because I was washing, still, operating tunnels maybe 4 or 5 years before that. So, I mean, I'm not that far out of the tunnel game, but enough where I looked at it, I was like, I agree. I'm kind of freaking out too, but I know this model good enough. It's gonna run itself, man. It does not feel natural to not be down there looking at things. Is the conveyor making a weird noise? Are there any weird noises? Because you have that rhythm. That the rhythm is the right noise. Is anything go different than rhythm? I gotta go look at something. Yep. And it was rocking and rolling a Friday evening actually. And he was freaking out, and I was freaking out, but it was funny. But we stayed there for 2 hours and talked for 2 hours. Never went down to check on anything. And they left, and now they're really close. As we speak, they may be opening their high performance 3-bay. So it's a 3-bay in-bay express model, exact model, same equipment you have. And so I need to touch base with him and go over there and check it out. But they're opening because they were like, his statement was, "Jason, you guys have taken everything I don't like about car washing out, but kept everything I like." And what he liked, every personality is different. He liked to just tinker on occasion, but he liked to talk to customers, but again, not held hostage to have to be out there. And you like customers too. You're really personal.
Yes.
You like talking to customers, but you're not held hostage. You don't have to do anything. You can do things at your own pace or what makes sense for you or your business.
That's the biggest point. They're doing it at your own pace, and that's a great way to put it, not held hostage, because when the tunnel is going, you've got to be there. You have to be there. You can't, my wife and I have been married a long time. That was in the tunnel days. It was, December through March 31st, all bets are off. Like, we're not making plans. We don't know what the day to day is going to be. I mean, you get used to it. You love the business, but I mean, that's not a great way to live. I don't think, like, especially as you go on, as you get into, family and you have kids and stuff, like, that's, to me, that's just, now that I've seen another way to do it, I mean, it just seems so obvious. Like, this is the way to approach it. And he's going to do three bay. He's going to do all the cars he's going to want to do there. Anything he's going to be able to want to accomplish that place, he'll be able to do with 3 bays. Yeah. I mean, that's perfect.
He's a good operator. He'll be able to knock out 100,000 cars a year with a 3-bay easy.
Yep.
So. Yep. That's kind of like a Stockholm Syndrome situation where we're all used to something. This is how life is. It's just how it is. But then I didn't have to do that.
Right.
there is another way.
That is a wonderful way to put that. It's just, you just tinker, you can go out and that's what we do here with the customers. We go out and, part of the way our model is set up, I kind of think of it as it's online car wash sales not being online. And what I mean by that, the customer comes up, they don't need an employee standing there doing it for them. They can do it at their own pace, take care of it. Nobody's standing there. It's kind of like buying something on Amazon. You make your purchase, you get your product. That's kind of what you have here. What we like to do when we're at the sites is let them know we're available. Wave, say hi, smile, all that. It's different on the peak days. We like to be out there more, handing out rack cards and that kind of thing. But we want to create an environment where it's comfortable. We want them we know they come to us for convenience. It's funny, if I go out on one of our 2-bay sites and I stand in lane 1, and the customer pulls around, they're going to go to lane 2 because that's just our customer. Yeah. They want that, I know what I'm doing. I don't need you. And that's great. That just means that when we're not here, because we can't be here all the time. I mean, that's just part of it. They've got it under control, which is good. So that's a good thing. They're confident in the system. They're confident. They know what's going on. And it's just a good recipe, so.
It is a great recipe because you only have a total of 3 people. One guy just cleans, one helps you with maintenance and other things, but you're really the only one talking to customers is yourself. So to make it clear for folks watching, there's 5 locations that Chris manages and 10 bays. So there's a 2-bay, a 2-bay, a 4-bay, and then 2 single bays. Right. So that's what you can't be, obviously. So you guys aren't real active with customers. Like I said, you kind of be out there on the busy days when you can, but you're really the only one out there talking to customers.
The guys will do it, but that's not their main focus. And their job is to help people that have problems. And on a busy day, they will help people at the pay stations, people that have never been there before and just answer some questions. But again, there's 3 of us and 5 sites. We can't, can't all be at every one of them, right? So it's got to be able to operate. So that's how we approach it. We want to make these flow and all that. I mean, it takes a real issue for somebody to mess up at our sites. That's what we want. I mean, they've got to just have no clue. Like they have a hard time. They have to have a hard time pulling onto our lot to mess. I mean, that's that type of person that's going to take to screw up what's going on there. So that's just kind of how they're designed, and that's how the past sales are the same way. I mean, it's they have to make the decision, and we'll help them, we'll educate them while we're there, but the systems have to do their job, and that's what we rely on. So and it's working.
Explain Christmas. How was Christmas and how the holidays? How does that work?
Interesting. I didn't know we wash cars on Christmas, but apparently that's people will come through on Christmas. We were never open on Christmas at the tunnel, obviously. But Thanksgiving we started closing on Thanksgiving. Back in the day, we used to be open, and I knew we would do cars there. But we had a profitable day on Christmas Day. People apparently going from house to house are going to stop in and get their car washed. So we sold. I think the one day we sold. I have to see if it was that last Christmas or the one before. It was like 12 memberships on Christmas Day.
So you guys washed hundreds and hundreds of cars. You're at home with the family. And open 24/7. So those that isn't obvious, you guys are open 24/7. That's all there is to it. You're always open all the time.
Yep.
Let me pull something up here. Let me share my screen for people. And I'm going to pull up the media player. So you weren't here, Chris, when I did this. Let me get this out of the way. Maybe I'll keep us here. We'll see.
This was BC. This was before Chris.
No, actually, this was during Chris. You were just you were gone for the day, I think. So for people wanting to watch, here we go.
Oh yeah, this is where I'm at right now. This site.
Yep, you're at this site. I came in with a drone. This is like 4 p.m. I think maybe you were sick or something was going on. You weren't here. I know you weren't anywhere. I think you were rehabbing the other site.
Yes, we were at State Road working.
Yeah. So you guys were rehabbing one of the sites, but right here. We're doing 90 cars an hour, folks. So this is 90 cars an hour. I'm the only non-customer there with my drone. I'm obviously not helping anybody. So you just saw a Sprinter van go in. And so let's do this, Chris. You ready to do some math? So I figured out on the really conservative end, you're running about 90 cars an hour here. On the other bays, you're doing like 40 cars on the double bays and like 20. If you do the math, you guys are washing like 200 cars an hour, 210.
That's accurate.
Yeah. So we got 200 cars an hour, and there's 0 labor working these places. Everybody's home. There's nothing going on here. 200 cars an hour.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. It really is. I mean, it's just, you stop in, and I can go to each one of those everybody in that line there, I can go and say hello to, and I can say, everything good? Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm fine. That's what you're going to have. I mean, the people are confident. It's, those bays are open. They're, there's not equipment. There's no conveyor. We've taken as much of the stress out as we possibly can. The way that the line flows too, you're not guiding somebody up onto a conveyor, finding neutral. Good luck doing that with these electronic transmissions. What a nightmare those are, especially on a busy day. It's a nice flow. They have 2-3 minutes to pay. Then they have another 2-3 minutes. They pull up and they're queued up, and then they go through and they get their wash. So it's not go all the time. It's just a nice, consistent flow here. And
it is way more relaxed. We just saw a Sprinter van go through, and then look at the size of this truck. This is a normal petted bay, quad cab, mega cab.
Dually. We got dually. Yeah.
No problem. Don't have to. Actually, it has its field door open. That's funny. First time I noticed that. So for the tunnel guys out there, again, you're talking to two former tunnel guys. Chris only has 30 years experience in it. And here's what's important to know. What Chris is talking about, when you're running the volumes you and I used to run, I used to run a wash tracking 220,000 cars a year when I left. And you think everybody is okay with a tunnel. Like, oh, everybody likes a tunnel because you're doing so much volume. You're in the community. Everybody likes this. But then you realize until you get in a really nice in-bay, there's a certain demographic, let's say a certain percentage of people that don't want anything touching their car. So a good high-performance touchless in-bay is going to grab those. But an even larger demographic is the people that don't want to put their car neutral. And we're talking about a lot of females, a lot of older people. I would argue a lot of younger people these days.
Yeah.
Because the transmissions, the shifters are completely different. You and I grew up, we could just bump it up one click and it goes in neutral. So you have a person in front of you, a person behind you, like you just said it, we're high volume, so we're kind of pushing people a little bit to go. We're running 100, 150 cars an hour, or whatever it is. And people don't like that. It's very uncomfortable. It's very scary. And then the newer cars are getting harder and harder and harder to get in the neutral. It's not natural in any way. And every car is different. You have to push a button this one. You got to go half click up for this one. So this takes all of that out of the equation. Now, the reason I say all of that is when you build a proper high performance express in-bay, you cut all of that out. And this is why a lot of people gravitate toward these sites, because you're close to plenty of tunnels out there.
Yeah. We've got 12 washes, 12. I think it's 12 in a 4-mile radius of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got them all over the place. And that's another thing that, when I started, there was not a lot of competition. I mean, there wasn't a lot of competition 10 years ago. There wasn't that much. It was just starting to ramp up. And, in Cleveland, they built a, waterway, which a lot of people have heard. They built right down the street from us. Beautiful, beautiful place. And we're like everybody else, freaking out. We don't want this to be here. Well, what are we going to do? You know what? If you're a good operator and you're doing it the right way and you're consistent, the business is there. It's not going to hurt you. What we found in Cleveland was they opened. And if you'd asked me 2 years later, did I even know they existed? I wouldn't know by looking at our numbers that they existed. So it's, and that's what we're finding here. I mean, we've got literally washes everywhere. And we're plugging along, and we're confident in the way we do it. We don't have all the answers, but we're very confident in our model, and we're comfortable having competition here. We have a brand new high volume tunnel that opened across the street from one of our newest build 2-bay site down there, and they gave it away for the first year and a half. They got open before us. They got open. That was right when I was starting. When did they open? About 4 months before us, something like that.
Yeah, you guys never had vacuums either for like a long time after a year.
Yeah, we're trying to get open and get people through there, and so they got a huge head start on us. And that first year was, it was rough. I mean, we're trying to get established there, and what we're finding now is they're sending us customers. I see their RFID tags come through our site all the time, and I don't badger people about it, but people pull in and I say, oh, I see you've got one of their tags. You're just not happy. And there's all kinds of different reasons. They're not comfortable with the friction. They don't like the conveyor. They didn't get a good wash. They don't take cash there anymore. I mean, there's a million different reasons why they want to come over to us. But, they're over there promoting, and, they're getting these free things in the mail. It's what happened to us in Cleveland. Waterway was doing the same thing. And your customers talk to each other. They say, they get the thing in the mail and they say, well, what is this? And don't use that. Have you not seen the place across the street over there? Go run through there. It's touchless. You don't have to worry about your car, blah, blah, blah. So if your operation, it sounds so simple and it's basic. I mean, it sounds, completely obvious. If you have a good operation and a good product, people will come to you. I mean, and that's literally what it is. There's enough business there to go be had. I mean, what are the capture rates? Even with all these washes, I mean, there's a lot of business there. That, there's a lot of people that aren't using us, that aren't using any car wash. So, I mean, the opportunity is there. So,
explain some of the reasons that people prefer yours, even though, and we're talking right across the street, folks. Like I could throw a football and hit the beautiful tunnel that has a ton of vacs, has a little mat cleaning station. It's well done. It's a better than average operator for sure.
Oh, it's a really good operator. Yeah.
So explain what, again, why they come to you, why they chose you when they were using that tunnel.
Well, the number one thing I hear is I don't like the brushes, or I
Okay.
got a scratch on the vehicle, or I
Okay.
noticed this because, you know, tunnels are tough. If you're not keeping your brushes clean and you don't have the right process, I mean, you're gonna leave marks. Whether I'm a tunnel guy, I'm just
Yep.
telling you, I've seen it. It's there. It's behind the tires. I mean, it's down on the rocker. Look at it in the sun, it's there.
Hmm.
So and all it takes is a truck to go through before it's covered in mud, and these guys are doing less and less prep. We used to hand prep everything with a high pressure
Yep.
gun. We'd hit wheel wells, and that doesn't happen anymore. They put a little low pressure on the front, maybe a little low pressure on the back, boom, roller up, away they go. So that's the number one thing.
Okay.
I see a lot of black cars. I see people say, hey, I was noticing this. I'll give you guys a try. I love your wash. I didn't realize, how powerful it was. And I mean, that's a really good experience. I mean, that machine is, I mean, you feel like the experience is great. You feel like your car is getting really clean going through there. So people like the experience. They like the no conveyor part. Those are the two biggest things.
Okay. So the conveyor is a big part of it. That's my
Yes,
suspicion.
just
Is
the
for a lot
just
of
the
people.
comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
easier.
we have a lot of female customers there. And that place too used to be the site that we're on used to be a full serve. So that
Yep.
was people are used to us doing or that whoever was there doing everything for them. Now we're doing nothing for them technically, and they're pulling in. They have to pull in themselves. So that was part of the beginning. The challenge was just training people on it and getting them used to it. And then once they do, this is easy. There's nothing to this. This is really cool. I heard that word a lot. Cool. I heard cool a lot at the beginning, which was good.
That's interesting.
So
That's awesome.
so yeah. So it's a lot of you know the owners, are two of the most low key, easygoing people I know. And even they, at the beginning of that site, were just, a little bit apprehensive and nervous, and anybody would be with the investment and everything in that site. And I just kept saying, I'm hearing the right things from the customers. I'm hearing things like the cool and, hey, this is great, and those types of things. So I had a really good feeling about that. And that site is for this first quarter, that one is up the most for us
Awesome.
this year so far in the first quarter. That is the highest performing, biggest increase of all of it. It's actually moved into second place on our sites.
Wow,
So
that's
yeah,
amazing,
so,
folks. With
yeah,
a tunnel across the street, a new tunnel build with a good
yes,
operator across the street. That's
yeah,
great news. That's
yeah.
great news. What so you guys just rehabbed one of your older sites.
Yes,
You
we
had
did.
one site with a different. Well, what's all of your equipment? Explain the equipment you're running at your
Okay.
in base.
Okay. So all the in bays are petted. All now today they're all petted. We bought. So we have the four bay here, and then we have the brand new two that we just discussed was a new 2-bay petted site across the street from the tunnel. The Graham Road is also a 2-bay. That the one that is across the street from the tunnel is a copy of the one that we have up on our Graham Road location. We were first talking about the one that sits back.
Yep.
So those are all petted units. We bought an existing petted single bay that had a membership program that we put our Dencar system into, and went up unbelievably as far as past numbers there.
Awesome.
Like, it's just unbelievable at that site. That site's been a great addition, and really has kind of changed our focus in the short term to look more at like, hey, are there sites out there that need a little bit of freshening up? Can
That's
we
the
get
play.
one of those?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
That's the play.
Is it that, or is it new construction? And we know how much new construction is right now. So that site's really, and then our 4-in-1. So we have a 4-bay. It's a 4 self-serve, 1 automatic bay that was really needing a lot of work. That one was kind of the black sheep. I used to always talk about we had 4.5 sites. We never had 5 sites.
Yep.
And today I can tell you we have 5 sites, because that is we put a pettit unit in there, all new Jinsan self-serve equipment. We're implementing our pass program into our self-serve. So we've got the 4-bay self-serve customer. Our members get 4, 2, or 1 self-serve use a month. We kind of started on the low side. We just want to see, we don't want that site to be inundated completely with people using memberships there until we get it. We want to see what kind of effect it is, because it's new for us. It's site level membership. So we're kind of treading lightly on that end. But people it's funny. We thought, oh, they'll want to come in and do their wheel wells. Maybe if they've got bugs on the front, they'll want to hit that. It's pretty much a mat cleaning station, at least this part of the year. It's funny. People will come in, they want to hang their mats up on the wall, they want to blast the mats off. Customers always tell you what they want. So
they do. And I go on diatribes all the time about mat cleaning. People are missing out on mat cleaning.
Yes.
Like 70% or more of the cars have rubber mats these days. And why aren't you, everybody watching, we had this in Mild Wash, and why don't you have a rubber mat cleaning station when you have a sink and some water and a brush or a cleaning or high pressure? That's a pet peeve, Chris. People are missing out. That is a value add that 95% of tunnels and bays are missing out on. People want their mats clean.
Yeah, we had it did carpet mats and rubber mats. It was a machine that we had at my Cleveland site. And on busy days, there would be 10 people standing in a line holding mats waiting to use the machine. Yep. So, yeah, and that's one. And admittedly for us here, we're going to have our first one that's going to go into our single bay site down Valley site's going to have one of those. And then that's something we're going to look at everywhere. But yeah, that's what they've been doing at the self-serve site, pulling their mats out. I've got the air dryer in that bay too, which is new. So we all a bunch of new equipment in there, and we're just, trying out, combining services. I mean, again, we've got, 12 washes, whatever it is around us here. We got to figure out how to make ourselves different. What do we offer that they don't? And people don't have that. They don't have, hey, pick your membership up, scan your app on the self-serve bay and it turns on. So that site, we've already washed more cars in the first quarter at that site than we did all of last year.
That's what I was going to ask. So let's repeat that, folks. So you had an old, machine, a really old wash world.
We had an old wash world when I say an old wash world, I could not keep that thing operating. It got to that point where I just couldn't keep it open.
So you put a high performance 2.5 minute pettit. You're running 2.5 minutes at all your sites, correct?
Yes.
At every bay. So 10 bays at 2.5 minutes. That's why the volumes are what they are, folks, and monthly. So you do a 2.5 minute wash, no matter which wash you buy. We'll put a little asterisk. And in the first quarter, rehabbing it with a pettit unit, a high performance machine, you've done more in a first quarter than did all of last year with the old machine.
Yes.
People do not want to wait around.
Right. Talk about return on investment. That's what it is. I mean, you just get it right back. I mean, it's just that we were hopeful there. It's not a bad location. It's not a great location. It's kind of a blow by location. That one is. We get traffic there, and it's a site too. You always want to be parallel to the road with your self-serve. This one's perpendicular. So I
agree.
It's not ideal. Like there's nothing ideal about it. But it's doing well. And we, again, I give the owners all the credit in the world. Let's redo this. Let's make it right. And we believe in our model. And I mean, that's going to be a good site for us for a long time. And it just gives us that, it makes us want to look at self-serve more. We had the one, and it makes us want to, get out there and see what else is out there in the self-serve market. For sure.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for some of the things that you mentioned here. And you guys have figured out the in-bay model. It's high performance, monthlies, 2.5 minute wash, get it in and out. And like you said, we're all learning. We could tweak it even more. We're all going to learn even better tweaks to continue to grow this model. But the thing is, this model is years, decades ahead of what everybody else is doing. They're looking at self-serves and in-bays. Let's talk about in-bays specifically as like, why would I even consider that? But we know people, Northeast Ohio folks, there's a lot of competition. Chris is where he's talking from us, and the competition he mentioned is 35 minutes north of me. Where I'm at, we have as much or even more competition. I've had a guy here, and I share this on a couple podcasts. He's a general business guy. He goes, Jason, I've been to 40 different cities looking at car washes. I've never seen the competition like I see here. And we have tunnels everywhere. We have pettit in bays, and they're all in the pettit in bays with the monthlies are doing amazing. They're doing absolutely amazing. Now, I have another quick story where there was a pettit with a Dencar, and he was outpacing. It was machine number 3. Super old machine, super old wash. He was outpacing a double pettit down the road, like less than 2 miles down the road. And they were running no monthlies, and they were running it slower. So the 2.5 minute wash, they were like 3.5, 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. So using more water, using more chemical, double bays. And the single bay was outpacing it. Well, guess what? They sped up the machines and they put monthlies in. Now they are doing absolutely insane numbers. The owner told me the other day, and I was like in shock. I was like, oh, I thought you guys were only doing this. Well, that was a couple of years ago before they added monthlies. Now they added monthlies and sped the machine up. And they're outrageous numbers out of two double short bays. This is the model. People don't want to wait around. They want monthlies, convenience, and we'll talk about something else you mentioned. The activity breeds more activity. This is what in-bay owners are missing, I think, is the psychology of it. And when a busier site, you mentioned it really early in the podcast, a busier site breeds a busier site. Between, I take people around this tour in North Canton area and up by you in the Cuyahoga Falls store area. And there is, right by all these tunnels and a couple in bays, there's a Starbucks. And you see how busy it is? There's like 2 or 3 cars in line. Starbucks always tried to get the A-plus location, and that's what they wanted. They wanted to get the most money per square foot, which is the wrong question and the wrong answer. So they were, obviously Starbucks is successful. I'm not saying they're not, but they are leaning out. They are in a little bit of trouble right now. And Seven Brew has a different philosophy. They build much bigger sites with flow. If you look at your average Seven Brew at the time of shooting this, it's like a tunnel car wash. It's a couple lanes in and you come around. It's all about easier, more convenient, and easier for people to navigate the parking lot. Instead of going to your typical corner Starbucks, there's another one right by you named Graham, right? That's terrible to get into. You can't get into that at all. So it's easier to just pull in, pull around, instead of making all these turns in a really tight parking lot. And, people, your subconscious, this is why it's called subconscious sales, your subconscious wants to go to convenient and more easy. Your subconscious will always default to more easy, unless it's outrageously expensive. But for the most part, what's easier? And Seven Brew is making an easier model. Not cheaper, not even faster. They want to be faster, but it's easier more than anything. So you go by the Starbucks, and then we'll drive 3 minutes down the road, and the Seven Brew has like 15, 20 cars in line. And the Starbucks has like 3 or 4. It's crazy. If you're ever in North Canton, we got to go on a tour anyway. I haven't taken you and Chris on a tour.
Yeah,
we need to do that.
We got to do that. Yep.
But sorry for the diatribe here, but what we're trying to get people to understand is the convenient part and the busy part. This is where in-bay owners are missing the monthly, is when you get 200 to 300 monthlies. Guess what? The whole site starts to just rock and roll, because what you said earlier is always moving. Now, you also mentioned people know how long they're going to be in line. If you get 200 to 300 monthlies, well, first of all, you won't get 200 or 300 monthlies per bay when you're taking 5 to 7 minutes to wash your car.
It's impossible. Yeah, impossible.
Yep. So if you're washing 2.5 minutes, well, then, you get 200 or 300 monthlies. All of a sudden, you got 300 or 400 monthlies, and the whole site just absolutely goes bananas. But it's the activity, folks, because when your peripheral vision, your subconscious sees a super active anything, you're like, what's going on there? And that's where Seven Brew is. The whole reason I brought up Seven Brew. They're playing the volume game. It's easier to get in and out. It's really visible from the road. Yeah, they don't have the corner lot, but it's still a pretty good location. But it's open and bigger. And people see all these cars in line. And you're like, wait a second, what's going on there? Again, this isn't conscious. You're not really thinking this. Your subconscious is like, oh, let's check that out. Why is everybody in line? Why does this have 20 cars in line? Well, there must be something all your peers like about it. And that's a really powerful marketing tool, for lack of a better term.
Especially once you've that when you brought the Starbucks over here on Graham, once you've experienced something like that, now you have another option. And look how open that's just going to breed more activity for them over there. That means just once you've had that negative experience at the other place, again, it seems like we're really bashing tunnels. I love tunnels, man. That's what I built my whole career on, is tunnels. But it's like, that's the same type of thing. Once you go through on a conveyor, and you get the loaders yelling at you, and you don't know, you get that experience one time, and then you come to something like this, and oh my God, I'm only here 2.5 minutes. They don't think of it. They just know I'm not there very long.
Yeah.
I get my car washed quick, and away I go. I mean, it's just that's what's going to breed. So people look at that. They're going to look at Starbucks. They're going to say, "Hey, how can we make this better?" That's how it all works. People improving on something that works. Let's make it better. That's what they're doing.
Exactly. So what's your average day like? What's the maintenance like on the machines and that kind of stuff?
We do. It's a lot of it is monthly stuff. It's just it's greasing. I've got 5 bearings on there, or I'm sorry, 7 bearings on the machine. There's nothing more than just a few minutes. We're wiping photo eyes. It's very, very low maintenance as far as day-to-day stuff. It's you've got yearly things. You got to look at take your arm covers off and look at your bearings. But I mean, from a day-to-day thing, it's just going and making sure your impact sensors are working, arms feel good, watching the machine work, and it just goes. I mean, that machine is built to be in a tunnel environment. That's what it's built for. I mean, it's made to do. What is it? I don't even know. Does it do 170?
180 cars an hour.
180 cars an hour. That's what it'll do in a stationary position. In our case, tracks around the car. It's a double arm machine. It is robust. And what's nice too is when I do have an issue, if we have you're going to get moisture in boxes. Those types of things happen, and you have to redo a connection here and there every now and then. It's very rare, but you will have that from occasion. What's nice is the machine it will tell you what the problem is. I get that alert and say, this is what you need to go look at, is what it tells me.
Yep.
And if I do have any issues, the guys can log in from Pettit. They log in and say, hey, I can see what's going on. Check this, check that. It's this brown wire. That's the one. Boom. And you're done. You're back and you're rolling. So it's coming from a tunnel environment where you're checking hydraulic hoses. I mean, now everything is more, we're getting to more electric, but back in my day, it was all hydraulics, and we just had hoses ran out. We didn't care about running neat stainless lines everywhere. So we had hoses rubbing, compared to that. I mean, it's just absolutely night and day as far as what we have to do now. It's just, really, it's just keeping eyes on it. And the machine lets me know there's a problem before I know there's a problem a lot of times. And as long as we're doing our checklists, we're golden. So yeah, it's been really good.
To give people some more perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so Chris is obviously handy because he's been washing cars for 30 years, but you're not a technician, and your other two people are not technicians. You have no technicians out of 10 bays, and you guys you're just doing all the maintenance yourself. And if you absolutely need to, you can call a technician in, but I mean, that's not very often, I don't think, right?
No, it's not. I mean, we only need, if you're talking about like high voltage electric, which that's more on the dryer end and that type of thing. But the Pettit machine, as far as, if you have to do a gearbox motor, anything on that machine, I can change. And
that's awesome.
It's not there's nothing on there that's too overwhelming. So yeah, it's very simple. Again, compared to, I'm not getting into conveyor and changing, drive units, and I've done all those types of things. I would say I'm kind of a technician, but yeah, I'm not a.
It makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not a welder. I'm not an electrician per se, but as far as just mechanically speaking, yeah, it's been nice. It's been different. That's the thing. There's a lot more signaling, a lot more wiring, which is not something we always had an on-site electrician at all my sites. So that person would just default to handle it. So there's been a lot more me opening up a cabinet and seeing a bunch of wires. When I first look at it, it's like, oh, so there was a lot of me learning, relays and all those types of things.
Okay.
But it's labeled so nicely in there. I mean, you have everything. It's complicated, but it's not complicated.
Yeah.
I mean, when you really stop and look at it, oh, okay, this makes sense. So it's it's been good. Really our Valley site down there, that was one that we bought that had some mileage on it. So that was the machine I really learned a lot on. That's the one I really tore that one. I tore that one apart when we first that first season. Just got all the bearings, the oscillating bearings changed, and rod ends and all those things got swapped out. And hoses and stuff, and it's just it took me. It was like a 6-hour rehab. I got in there and just replaced everything I had to do
hilarious.
That day. Went in and got it.
6-hour rehab.
Yeah, and we did. I mean, we haven't had. I hate to say it out loud. We haven't had downtime there. We just haven't. We've had nothing. And we don't have them at any of our sites. I mean, they're just. Very, very, very seldom. I mean, it's things like you have a muddy truck that goes through. You get a little bit of mud up on a prox sensor. It'll activate the prox sensor. Go in and you clean it. I mean, it's things like that, and those are the types of things my guys can handle too. They'll come into the site and say, hey, usually I know before they do, but they'll say, hey, Bay 3 is out of service, and I say, okay, I'll log in. Okay, do this. Yep, clean that. Boom, we're back up and running. They reset it, and we're fine. So it's
awesome.
It's a much simpler flow. Yeah, as far as that goes.
So explain with the customer experience when they drive in. Explain their experience with the pay station and how that works.
So the pay station, I kind of describe it as a big cell phone screen. That's kind of what it looks like.
That's a good way to describe it.
And it's something that people are used to using, obviously, that type of thing. So we just split our screen right in half. We've got our single washes on the left. We've got our memberships on the right. And our membership screen, sometimes we'll do a promo. We'll do a first month, the same price as a basic wash. We'll do that type of thing. Currently, we're not. Usually once we get into the winter season. Yeah, once we get into the winter season, we're off and running. Sometimes in the fall, we'll look at maybe we can bump up a little bit of the numbers there and try to get some more members in. But yeah, generally speaking, that's what we're splitting it in half. And the customer has to make the decision. I mean, they need to be able to look. We're aggressive. We're our base is $10, which is fine. But in our base monthly is $25. So we try to keep it as close to 2 washes as we can. So our top wash is 20 and our top pass is 40. So somebody can come in and say, I'll come in twice a month. I mean, I can do that. And when the customer can make that decision, it's great to sell it to them. But when they can make that decision for them, and they don't feel like they've been sold anything or taught, they made that decision on their own,
That's important.
they're going to feel better about that purchase, and they're going to stay with you. And I see that more and more in our churn numbers and those types of things. I think that's a really important part of what we do. We want to educate them, but our philosophy is not to badger customers. I don't want guys out there every single time they come in hard selling a pass to them, because after about the third or fourth visit of that,
they're not coming back.
They're not going to come back and see you anymore. So we're very aware of, they come to us for convenience and no hassle, and we want to keep that as much as we can. We want to be able to advertise to them and help them, but we don't want to be on top of them. And kind of parallel to that point, with our pass, or with our app, which we do our RFID and we do the app too. We just have the RFID there more for our older customers because they don't want to deal with the phone. It's just easy. Yep. They pull up, the gate opens, but it's not something that we require or really even push that much. We just let people know.
Yeah, you don't market that much at all.
No, we don't. We just let people know that they have it. If I see a customer that's struggling with the phone, I'll walk up to them and say, hey, just so you're aware, it doesn't cost anything. We have an RFID tag option too. Put a little tag in your window if you prefer. Oh yeah, let's do that. That's literally all that we do there. But what I was going to say is kind of not doing the hard sell approach. The other thing that we do is we make it very easy to buy a pass. We make it very easy to cancel the pass. And a lot of people say, oh, you don't want them to do that. Well, we understand that there are customers here that are going to watch from us from December to March, and that's it. And that's okay. We love to have them. We want to make it easy for them to stop that pass and start it and come back to us next year. If they have to call us and talk to us and listen to our spiel and try to talk them into staying and making it a complicated transaction to do that, they're not going to come back to us next winter.
And they will tell their friends.
They will tell their friends what a hassle it is. I have a great DirecTV story that has a lot that's very similar to that.
Go for it. Awesome.
That I never had that. Well, it took me, I knew it was going to be a hassle to cancel it when it was time to do it. And that's when I was working in Cleveland. It took me 40 minutes to go home. I hopped in the truck, got on the phone, and I had that thing canceled as I was pulling in my driveway. That's how long it took to have it canceled.
That's crazy.
Just, them selling me and other people talking to me. And it got to the point where I said, look, I'm not saying anything else. I'm going to sit here silent until you say, okay, we're going to start your cancellation. That was just such an awful experience that really put in perspective to me, how I would never do business with them again. And
that's right.
When you're talking about the car wash, and that was kind of a friction point at the last place I worked, the last time I was at for 2 years. I mean, they were big on calling and, hey, let's make a deal with the customer after the fact.
Gracious.
Then it turns into, we were charging you $50 for this pass, but here it turns out we'd have given this to you for $30 this whole time. And the customer just feels cheated.
Absolutely.
So it's just those are bad tactics. You got to look at the big overall picture here. Those people, let them start and stop. Don't let them feel trapped in your membership. Let them be able to start it and stop it. Maybe they're going to go out of town for a month. Let them know that they can go in, click a button, the charges stop, and they know that they can do that whenever they want. You're going to have people that want to do that. So what you'll end up with is if you take the hardline approach, you just won't have those customers. I'd rather have that customer with me 8, 9, even 4 months out of the year than not at all. So that's those two things together are really what I think has helped build our membership program. I mean, I didn't start with these guys. I'm just kind of nurturing what's been going on here. That's kind of how I look at this. These guys figured it out. They're teaching me, but I'm trying to do right by, their business here. And that's just kind of, and we're all on the same page with that. Let's let the customer make the choice. Let's make it easy for them, and they'll stay with you. And they have, and they've been. It's been great.
So that goes back to that convenience word, doesn't it?
You make it more back to that.
Convenience. And another thing, you did pause on it, but I think people need to hear what you said. So I teach, I have an online training course teaching people exactly how to sell monthlies properly. In my training, I talk about, again, the subconscious, how you need to present it in a way where it's their decision. And there's a lot of books on this kind of stuff as well, that are not car wash related, just psychology books and different things. What you said, and you paused on it because it's a big deal, but I don't think other tunnel operators or in-bay operators understand how big of a deal this is. You want them to make the decision, folks. They need to make the decision. If they do, they're way more loyal and your churn goes down. That's why it has to be, if you're selling physically, it has to be presented a very specific way. Now, I'm going off a little bit than how you guys do it because you let the pay station do it. But there is so much gold in what you said. They need to make the decision. They need to feel like they make the decision. So for those of you selling out there, there's a specific way of doing that. That's what they teach. But there was gold in that. And to go back to your pay station, you guys are not out there selling. Again, you only have 3 people, and you're pretty much just running operations and maintaining things and talking to people when you can. But there's no salespeople at any of these locations.
No, we're closing sales sometimes, and what I mean by that, people are saying, "Hey, I have a question about your monthly." And when you hear, "I have a question about your monthly," you've sold a monthly. So
Yep.
we're not out there selling. They're already interested in it. They've
Yep.
already considered it, and they just have a couple questions to put their mind at ease about canceling or whatever
That's
it
right.
is. So we're doing a lot of those types of things. But we are not pushing it. One, I just want to jump back just for a second. The other thing too is like when you're saying let them decide. If you're selling a pass and they're buying it to get you to stop talking to them, that is such a loss.
Yes,
that
it is
such a loss, and that's what you have a lot when you have high commit. Like a lot of people, that was a big deal back when we were looking at dollar per car. Like that was everything. Extra sales, dollar per car. We had some pretty good incentives to sell car washes to customers. I saw that back in the day, and they would buy stuff just to shut you up, and you don't see that person ever come back through ever
That's
again.
right.
So that's the thing. So like if you're gonna
thinking,
if you're going to commission your salespeople for passes, just keep that in mind. You want to have an incentive there, and I would look more of like on the residual side. Give them a bonus for how many
all the time.
Give them a bonus on how many members you have, not how many new members necessarily, because you get the wrong aggressive person out there, and they're going to do whatever they got to do to sell that pass. They will tell that customer whatever they have to tell them, and
it's true.
those are people you will not see again. So that is a real slippery slope. So I just want to say, yeah, if they're buying it to shut you up, not good. That's not what you want. I've seen that happen. So
I cannot agree more, man. And I also agree. I teach all the time is the residual. Like give them a spiff, a bonus, something, a commission off the total every month. That way they want to grow your business, not get this first time, one-time monthly thing. It's a completely different mentality. You get what you incentivize. You incentivize single monthly sales. Guess what? What you said is going to happen. And also what I see when I'm still consulting tunnels is people will come in, you're seeing the ratings. You told me it was good. The first month it was this much, and then this month, because they didn't tell them the whole story, or they did it in a way where the person really didn't hear it. Yeah, there's a lot of shady things happen when you commission per sale. I'd much rather see, for those out there, commission.
Your churn rates are through the roof in that scenario too.
They are. Yeah. You're making enemies, not friends. You're there to be the cool people in town. And that's what you guys are. That's what we were at my old wash, and you're turning everything you said. You didn't say that term, but people are happy. It's convenient. It's easy for them. It's fast. You're the low pressure place. I think it's cool. You guys are doing a lot of right there. A lot of things right.
I think so too.
Great. So to any other tips, tricks, or any other anything else you want to mention about your locations there, or your change in lifestyle since you've been doing the in-bay thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I said it before, but it's true. I mean, it's been exactly what I've needed in my life as somebody that's done it forever. You get to a point where your guy said it exactly right, where he said, you want to take the hassle part out of and keep the stuff that you like, and that's what this is. You keep your memberships, you're not held hostage by the site, and that to me has been the biggest. I would never have guessed how simple but rewarding the whole thing has been, as far as just you get that fill, you get your memberships, you see your numbers, you're growing the way that you want. But you know what? If my kid's got a soccer game this afternoon, I could run out there and I could do it, and I could come back and everything's going to be just fine. I don't have to, I'm not going to miss 300 cars that I wasn't there to run through. I put my other guy in and I lost, 40 cars because I wasn't the one sending them through. So, as somebody, and my personality is like, I just have to be hands-on with it. As somebody who's that's their personality, it's been good to just kind of slow down a bit and just back away a little bit. And it's been healthy. It's just the whole thing's been healthy. So I think that's as we look at all these things going forward, as far as employees and just automation, I just think it's the right way to do it. I mean, if you have the energy and you've got the patience to do a tunnel, hey, I mean, go for it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that model, obviously, but it's just, now that I've seen it this way, I'd be surprised if people had kind of walked the life I had the last 10 years and would not feel the same way. I'd be very surprised that they wouldn't agree with that.
I agree.
But yeah.
I agree. So, what other some? We'll end on a few more things. Quick questions. We mentioned specifically the one location with the tunnel across the street, but in general, what are your customers saying? Just what's some feedback you get from your customers with this model? Because you're running 10 bays, 5 locations. What's the general feedback you get?
Um, what we hear all the time, and we have a really, this customer base is fantastic. I mean, they're just middle class USA. They're very friendly people. But the comment we hear the most is, "We love you guys." And I'll say, "Well, why do you love us?" And it's just so easy. We love the wash. We love people are just when they get into touch free. It's at the beginning you think they're not going to put out that good of a car, but once they experience how well the car comes out, and especially in a membership site, that's the other thing. When you're on a membership, we're talking about before, you're not washing filthy cars that are coming through. Touchless is going to have no trouble with that whatsoever. So we just hear we don't see the scratches, we don't see the marks. We love the memberships. We get a lot of it's reinforcing what we've been working towards with the low hassle for the customer and the just ease of use and everything else. So that's what we hear the most from them, which is great. Not a lot of, I mean, it's funny too. One of the things that I kind of had to deprogram, when I was in Cleveland at the tunnel, when you'd hear, "Excuse me, sir," you just kind of go, "Oh, what's this going to be?" I don't have that here. I'm not kidding you when I say, "Excuse me, sir, I just want to tell you, this place is awesome." I hear that so much. And there's no better feeling because all you hear is negative stuff. Like that's what customers leave online for you is it's just the negative stuff. But it's just so nice when they'd like it enough that they take the time to stop you and tell you that. And it's been really, really good. Just like, yes, we're doing this the right way. This is great. It just gives you a lot of motivation. So
That's good. And you know what? I'm going to mention something else real quick here. People know I spent 20 years before car wash. I spent 20 years in the car repair business, and I've studied a lot of Toyota, Honda philosophies. And there's something to be said here. A lot of times when you simplify a business, I tell people you got to do less things better. Do less things and do those things better. And when you take out claims, you take out all the moving stuff of a conveyor, all the maintenance for a tunnel, and you take out all the employees, guess what? You could focus on what you're doing. So much easier. You don't have to manage employees. You don't have to worry about schedules. You got 3 people running a lot of cars, 10 bays. You don't have to worry about conveyor. Don't have to worry about when you don't worry about all this stuff, you could do way better, and you could focus way more on how to improve the business internally, how to tweak little things and make it better. The Toyotas and Hondas, they would make really powerful 4-cylinder engines, and they were much higher quality because a V6, V8 has a lot more parts. You have different things that leak because by the V nature of the engine, you just have, so they said, okay, let's make something simpler, but make it better. And that simpler, better model worked out for them in spades because it was more reliable. And maybe it didn't have as much, but close to much power. They built it at higher quality, but 4 cylinders in one row compared to V anything is more reliable. And it's just ultimately, and then they realize, okay, that's less people doing warranty work. That's less people on the phones. That's less people. There's a cascade. Any point of your business is a cascade of all these other things that are attached to it. It's like this giant spider web. And when you've taken the biggest spider webs out of your business, managing a lot of employees, entry level, that is hard to keep happy, hard to find. The conveyor part of it, which again is a spider web of its own, and the claim part of it, which is, and that all also feeds to your emotion, right? You're a happier guy because you're not cringing when someone says, "Excuse me." I don't think people are realizing when you take all that out, how much more you could focus on making the location clean, talking to the customers, tweaking the tiny little things. You have any input on that?
No, that's exactly right. When you take all that out, that's what you can focus on your customers, what they want, their feedback. It's not, I can tell you we focus, I mean, it's crazy to say that. In an in-base situation, I focused way more on the customer experience and just the customer themselves than I did in a tunnel. Because in the tunnel, it was just all those moving parts you're talking about. It's just,
it's chaos.
You kind of get dehumanized a little bit. These people are just coming through. You just get them through, get them out. It's just more like sheep. But like here, I never really thought about that until just now. It just, when you take those distractions out, you can focus on that and really fine tune things that you're washed that may just be let go. Just like, oh, that vacuum isn't working right. Oh my God, I'm just so slammed over here. I'll get to it when I get to it. You've got that time to do it. And while you're doing it, the wash keeps operating. You can keep an eye on customers. People see you there, you're still there, they feel good. Customers still, I mean, even in our situation, they feel good knowing there's somebody there, because
I
they know
agree.
if there is an issue, they know, hey, is there somebody here to take care of it. And that's another side of it, with our team that answers phone calls, and they relay out to us if there's issues, and then we immediately we get it all instantly, and then we run over and we can meet we're fortunate our locations are close enough, we can pop in and out and help people real easy.
Yes.
But that's that when you get away from all that stuff and you just you do a damage claim, they literally can ruin your day, and it's just that's all you think about. You think about it 3 hours after it's over, for either the guy was a jerk, or you feel bad because it didn't happen here, and the customers can. There's a million reasons, and when you get all that out, you're just happier, and it's just a more positive thing. So
And
it just really make focus is easier.
You're treating people better because you feel better.
Exactly.
People don't realize that we radiate the emotion. We're having a bad day. We get bombarded by customers, or something broke that no one knows about. We have to fix it tonight at 9 p.m. Because you had to cancel the kids' game or whatever. When you can give people more of what you have, and what you have is just more healthy because the model is better. And one other quick thing I'll mention, because I also ask a lot of people that aren't in car washing, and I'm finding females and older females, they do want someone there. So you in-bay guys that are watching, again, these are unattended sites. Trust me, go to any of these sites they're unattended. But being out there when you can be, and I'm telling in-bay, like these high performance express in-bay model people, it's way easier to find one guy, or again, maybe two guys that frequent the site. They just check on things. They make sure the site is always picked up and super clean, and the vacuums are always working, just that kind of minimal stuff, minimal maintenance. But if there's someone there floating around, I am noticing those sites are a little bit better at monthlies. It's not necessary, but it takes minimal effort. Again, the employee doesn't have to have this crazy job, and if he doesn't show up, it's running just fine. But having someone floating around on occasion, people are more comfortable with that. But it's a different kind of hire, because it's okay if they don't show up. You don't have to struggle to hire someone skilled to do and train them to do this exact thing. They just got to clean up and take care of people when they ask a question. You finding the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I would imagine kind of an entry-level employee type that's just doing the cleanup and that type of thing, that having them around is they're probably going to pay for themselves if you didn't have them. Somebody at that level, you'll probably make that up in revenue, just as far as just more customers coming through, more monthlies or whatever it is, just people that there is a confidence level there. It's so, I don't want to paint the picture that we're always around all the time. I mean, there's not always somebody at the site, but it's not like they go 3 days and nobody's there. All of us are at every site multiple times a day. So It's a really good chance you're going to catch somebody, but it's again, that the key is, if all of us weren't there, we're going to do okay. We're going to be okay. Yeah, we're going to be okay. So it's not that pull. It's not that we've got to do this. So that's the nice part about it, is just it's maintaining it, keeping it running. It's not, my whole life has to revolve around this one site, or else we're not going to make our money. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great. Well, Chris, this has been absolutely fantastic. Yep. And I know you said before we went live, there's no way you're ever going to watch or listen to this.
I can't hear myself or see myself, but I hope everybody gets something out of it and enjoys it a little bit.
But I hope this goes viral. People need to see what's happening. We're going to chop this up, put it short. So you're going to be famous whether you know it or not, Chris.
Oh, boy. Well, I'm sure you guys could tell me all about it. That'll be great. That'll be wonderful. No, it's always a pleasure to talk. You and I always great conversations, and kind of came from the same path and kind of went down the same way in a lot of ways. And it's always I learn a lot listening to you talk. So it's good. It's great for both of us. I think.
One more thing pops in my head. Sorry about this, but you're good on time, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I run in base, man. I got time. I'm good.
That was not intentional, folks.
That's right.
So you and I were in the tunnel game when tunnel operators were very apprehensive about monthlies. Now, if you don't have a monthly, you're not surviving, except for like a tiny percentage of outliers. Talk to the in-bay owner who is very apprehensive about about monthlies for in-bays.
I would have said it never could work. The way that we do it, and we didn't talk that much about Dencar, but Dencar is so important. From the first question I asked you the first day that we met about this place was, how do you get people from just abusing this? Like, how does this happen? And you couldn't wait to show me. And A lot of places use license plate recognition to activate the wash. We use it for fraud mitigation. So what we do is we let the customer go through. We're fine. If you're bringing another car in, great, but we're going to know about it. And what we do is we take a picture of everybody goes through. If that plate doesn't match your record on file, you're going to get a little text message from us that says, hey, we recognize that you brought a different vehicle in. And we give them one. The first time they can say, oops, I didn't mean to do that. After that, they have to pay for it or add it to their membership, or their membership doesn't work anymore. So,
and you have a strong family plan because of that.
Yes. And we make it very easy. We get the text will come. They can on a one click, they can add it to their family plan. So so we grow a lot that way. So the point of that is, if you're an in-bay operator, the first thing you're going to think of is people are going to come through here nonstop. I got no control over this. When you have a system like the Dencar system has, we do, it's not unlimited, it's a membership. So we do 15 memberships a month. And because we're not, or 15 washes per membership a month. And it goes up with the family membership. But when you don't have somebody on the site, and I see it even when we are on the site, people will just loop back around, and they'll just do that. Just because there's some people will do that way. So we do limit it. I've had 2 people in over 2 years tell me that 15 washes a month wasn't enough. So I think hit a pretty good number there.
And we don't want those people anyway.
Yeah, right. I mean, you get to a point where you're not making any money on it. So it's all fine. Exactly. So if you're an in-bay operator, you're looking at memberships, that's, those things exist. That's what we're using. We're using, a system that will keep people from abusing your plan. And if you make it simple for them to purchase it, they're going to purchase it. It's got to be, that pricing is so important. You and I talk about this all the time. It's like, you've got to make the math simple for them. They got to be able to give them a reasonable target, because everybody that's going to consider that is going to say, how many times do I need to use this to make it worth my time or make it worth my money? And if you make it 4, you can make it 4. You're just not going to sell as many. And the other part of that is your redemption rate is going to be higher.
That's right.
When people are paying more for it, you got a $60 monthly. You think they're going to come through 2 or 3 times a month? No, they're going to see you 5, 6, 7, 8 more times a month, because they're paying that premium. So it's a balance there. So you get your numbers correct, and you have a system that can control it, and which is what we have. And now with Dencar, we have programs where if you don't want to even talk to these customers, we have services over there that team will take care of your customer service for you. They'll handle the phone calls. They'll fix your plan. That's another thing. People don't want to manage a monthly plan. They'll do that for you. You don't have to worry about changing credit cards for people. You don't have to worry about cancellations, outside of the app. If somebody has questions, those are all options there. And they're very, I would do it. I could tell you as an operator, I would do it. If we open Chris's car wash tomorrow, believe me, I would have a team there that answered those phone calls and handled that. I wouldn't want to do all those transactions myself, managing the past. So it's just an absolute no-brainer. Unless you're running a machine that, if you got a 7-minute cycle, I'm not going to recommend it to you, because people are not going to want to sit there.
That's right.
What's going to happen? They're going to buy a membership. They're going to come in with 3 cars in line one day. They're going to be there almost a half an hour, and they're going to say, I can never use this thing. I don't want it. So,
or if their plate LPR, and it doesn't read once, they're also gone.
What a nightmare. Yeah, you get stuck in a line. You got somebody behind you. Got to get out and ask them to move. It's just a nightmare. So, yeah, we've tried to really look at it from a customer standpoint and just eliminate. That's ours. Our sites. It's easy to get out if you need to get out. All those types of things are so important. But yeah, if you're an in-bay operator, you can have a very, very lucrative membership program, and it's just an absolute no-brainer once you do it. I wouldn't have thought it was a feasible thing as a tunnel person, but it is absolutely achievable. And we've seen it. We see it. You see it all over the country. People are doing it all over the place. Yeah. So
and for those to put another little bit of extra information out there for people. I know people that aren't able to wash a car 2.5 minutes, but they might be at 6 or 7, and we can get them down to 4.5, and then you can, depending on how many bays you have. So if you can't afford a modern high performance, padded or something like that, can wash a car in 2.5 minutes, you can still do this. And I've personally consulted people that had a 3 bay, and he had 6+ minute washes. Like, look, lean down your menu, make your menu much more simple. You touched on earlier, everybody trying to add things and upsell. This is the opposite business model. We're not trying to upsell. We're trying to make it simple and convenient. So your basic wash is wash, rinse, dry. Your middle one has maybe like underbody spray and something else in your environment. The top has whatever that is, plus a ceramic or graphene. That's it. Yeah, and people are still paying premium for that.
Right.
They're still paying $20 a wash, or 17 or 25, and it's still out in 2.5 minutes. But the reason I tell that to other operators who can't afford that machine yet is whatever existing equipment you have, lean it down, get the pre-soak on the car, get the car clean and out the door instead of adding all these things. It's a completely different business model. We're talking, like this is like a fast food model. It's simpler,
Right.
it's leaner, and get them outdoor. You can still succeed. But if you give them the 3.5, 4.5 minutes, and I've had operators that did that, they added a monthly and they leaned their menu down, and they're super happy, super successful. They're doing real good, but it's about keeping things real simple. So it's available for a lot of people out there.
It's the McDonald's comparison that I like so much. It's, they don't make the best hamburger known to man, but they sell the most of them. So it's like, it's finding that balance of, this is convenient, this is easy, and I'm happy with it at the right price point and time point. Time point really is the big thing. Is how much time is this going to take me to get through there? But yeah, if you can get the speed right, and that's the balance. Really, it's the speed. And you're right. You said 2.5 minutes. People are paying $25 a wash. They are. That's what we have here. I mean, we added a $25 wash just to see what would happen. We can't believe it. How many people are buying it? I mean, it's just, there are people that want the best. They'll come to your site and they want to buy what the best thing is. They don't care what is in it. They probably couldn't tell you what they just bought, but they know it's the best, and that's what they want.
That's
and
right.
That's we have a lot of that. So, that's it is really a tunnel mindset in an in-bay environment. I mean, that's really what it is. So, I mean, I think people that are tunnel operators I can't imagine them not succeeding in this model. I don't know how you wouldn't. I mean, it's just so much simpler, and you get your numbers, you get the numbers you want for sure. Awesome. Very satisfying.
Cool. So, all right. Well, we will end this here, Chris. Unless you have anything else you want to add?
No, it's been great. Yeah, it's been good talking to you, and I'm glad we had some time to sit down finally. And we got the big show coming up. Yeah,
we got the big show coming up. You're not going to be there, right?
No, okay. I'm going to be here with the guys, and hopefully next year. I'm going to try to make it out. Next year's Nashville, isn't it? I think it is.
It should be.
Yeah. That's when I'd probably do that one.
You coming to a show is a good idea because people want to talk to operators. We talked about salespeople earlier and get commissions.
Right.
Like, people don't want to talk to salespeople. They'd rather talk to people who've done it or are doing it, and what's the reality. And that's one thing I try to do in this podcast is the real world reality, what we're dealing with, not goofy language and all these trendy things, because there's so much of that out there. We just want to talk real world. That's my preference. So you won't be at the show. You'll be down there washing cars. And how's the first quarter been for you guys?
First quarter's been great. That's a big reason you and I haven't had time to sit down. We've been talking about this for a couple of months, and it's just been busy, and we're going. And I mean, again, it's not hands off completely. There's a lot to do, and there's a lot of things to go on. And we had a great first quarter in this area, and I know our places did very well. And we were very, very thankful for the weather pattern we got and everything else. And it's been very, very good. So yeah, it's been, we're off to a great start. We're hoping to get into pollen season next, and hopefully we get some good green cars coming in here in the next month or so, and just keep rolling, get some more memberships out. But yeah, we're off to a good start this year.
Fantastic.
So we keep it rolling. Yep.
Good stuff. All right, Chris. Well, thank you again. I'm going to click off here for those watching. You can find our links on the bottom of the podcast, the bottom of the video. Thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you soon.